welcome back to Western Kabuki. We are joined every week by our co-hosts. June, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing this week. My belly is full. I'm slapping my belly. It was a great Thanksgiving week. I am so full and rotund at the moment. I am inflating, just like the Elon Musk that was bubbled out and he's a balloon. If you've seen that, I look exactly like him right now.
Hell yeah!
But no, I'm doing amazing.
Alex, how you doing, pal?
My Thanksgiving sucked hard, and I'm really glad to be home.
Oh yeah. Any fun stories, or is it just depressing?
It was just like family with health problems. My daughter and I were like, we were in Michigan, and it was snowing, and we were like, fuck yeah, let's go run around in the snow. I immediately fell and snapped my glasses in half. So I was in Michigan, blind. I was just like in the pissiest mood the whole time. And of course, kids traveling, they just like, it fucks with their attitudes, man. They get really. It was tough. I'm glad to be back.
It seems to be the case where, like, if you're a parent, like, vacations with kids can either be like an amazing experience that's super memorable, or like horribly stressful and just miserable. It's like a 50-50 shot where it could just be one or the other.
I mean, part of it is like I'm locked in a battle right now with my 6-year-old daughter to like actually try food other than chicken nuggets. And I was like,
dude, that is a rough spot to be in.
And I was like, hey, Polly, just so you know, we're not fucking doing chicken nuggets on Thanksgiving. And it was just like, it was a mistake I made. I made a mistake. I was Alex, not up for that fight.
I'm gonna put you up on some game right now. All right, you can lie to children. They suck. They don't know anything. Like you could just be like, dude, these are chicken nuggets. Like, so like my little brother had the same problem, and then I was like trying to get him to eat Brussels sprouts and bacon, and then I was like, dude, these are German chicken nuggets, bro. And he was just like, no way. I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, and he totally believed it, and he's like, dude, these are so good. But the problem is now he asked my dad for German chicken nuggets, and my dad has no idea what the hell he's talking about. So I mean, like, yeah, you could just lie to kids. Wait, it's fine.
Alex, you should do that and report back on that.
Yeah. Next time Marcos is on, we'll do a progress report.
Okay. We're going to do another boring, lame news show tonight, and there's going to be enough time for that. June stumbled, which we'll have her read some of here in a little bit. June stumbled onto something that I think is kind of near and dear to mine and Marcos's heart. And so when I saw that she'd found this, I was like, yeah, we got to call Marcos. We got to call Marcos and get him in on this. Got to call him the homie. We're going from nap time to yap time. We're taking the ice pill tonight. Are you guys ready to get ice pilled?
I am so ready. So before we kind of go in, because we were just like, originally when we were recording, we were just going to do like a news episode. Like, there's always great news to talk about. Love it. Love news. I scroll news on my phone every single day. I'm addicted to news. But I woke up this morning and I found this thread on Twitter and went on like an hour deep dive. And I was like, I texted you guys. I was like, can we like today switch to doing like an episode on this shit that I found?
Yeah.
I was so into it. I'm so excited.
My nephew is getting his he won't hear this, so it's fine, but he's getting his first guitar for Christmas this year. And like, for me as a musician, for that type, my sister like helped me pick one out, and I get to be involved in that. I'm so proud and happy and excited for you to text an ice wall conspiracy thread to me. I was like, oh, it's like the same feeling. I was like, June, yes.
It's like it's time. It's finally time to talk.
This is like what you did this morning is like what I'm doing every night instead of like having sex or whatever, like having a girlfriend. I'm just like, I'm just reading this shit and I'm becoming the information pimp.
Do you see the future you have laid out ahead of you? It's what Caleb's describing right now. Doesn't it sound glamorous?
I see the first. I see the first footstep, and I've put my foot in that hole. So I'm ready. I'm going. I'm trucking along. I'm all in on this. This is it brought me so much joy. Like simultaneously brought me so much joy, but terror that people believe this.
Mm-hmm. Should we start out then by having you read a little bit of the thread that you found, and then we can go from there?
Yeah. Do you want me to just kind of start from the top? Do we kind of want to like? Should that be how we intro what we're kind of talking about, the ice walls, or should we give a pretext to it?
You know what? Let's introduce the audience just how you found it. I think that's a good way to do this.
Okay, yeah. So this morning, yeah, so as I was saying, woke up, opened as you do X, the everything app. It has all of the information. Everything you could ever want to know is there. The
Some
news
stuff you don't want to know.
You are
also.
the media now.
Yeah, there's a
guys.
lot of stuff you don't want to know. Like, I'm devastated. I found out today that Destiny was part of the Kiss Guys Night community, and like that's
too much information.
Yeah,
we know too much about each other.
Yeah,
But so I, as you do, you open Twitter. Just bullshit gets thrown in front of you that people you don't follow, people no one you know follows this person. So the first post I saw, it says it's just from some random account named QMum. So I should have got the first hint right there. It's a QAnon adjacent account. So the post reads as the passage through to the lands beyond the ice wall. And it's just like a picture, like at first glance for someone like me that has not heard of the ice wall theory before, I was just like, oh, interesting. Cause I'm a science person. I love science. I love nature. I went to college for ecology. So I'm looking at this photo like, oh, that's like some beautiful, like glacial, like structures. Like it's beautiful. And then you look down a little bit in the same photo and it's like, wait, what is this? So there's a map. There's two maps here. And one of them is like the planet we know, Earth. And it's surrounded by a wall of ice with a small opening on one side. And there's more continents outside that ice wall. There's like 5 more continents, all with different names. One of them is like Pidenum. One of them is like Thoth. And then there's
Thoth. The real Thoth heads know about this.
Thoth was the ice planet from fucking Star Wars.
No, that's Hoth. Hoth.
My bad.
Thoth. A little context on that. Thoth is the Egyptian god of wisdom. But here's the kicker here, right? There is no god of Egyptian lore named Thoth.
Yeah, that's fake history.
Yeah, it's Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was like, yeah, I talked to a dude named Thoth. He had a crow's head, and he's in Egyptian. And everyone was like, yeah, I remember reading that. And that's
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's tight.
Any of you guys play Dungeons and Dragons really quick? Because this
a little bit.
Okay, so if you look at like how the plane system works and like Dungeons and Dragons and the maps that they have, this is completely and totally just straight up lifted from that.
Really?
Yes, dude. Yes.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm not even surprised. Like some of this just feels fantasy like.
I don't know if you're aware of this, right? But like, so the outer continents of beyond the ice wall, right? That's where like dragons and wizards and shit live.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then beyond that is like aliens.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I wish I was joking. Like this is their worldview, right? Beyond that is like aliens. So like they're in their minds, this is how brains work. We're like trapped in the center and our brains are like conjuring up these memories of being outside of the wall.
Okay.
And we write them down as fantasy. And then depending on how far your memory or past life regression or whatever it is that they call it, like, you know, sci-fi. And then like beyond that wall is like true enlightenment. It's like guys like Jesus and Buddha and shit. Like,
yeah, there was one like Valhalla. There's one Valhalla. So in this theory, at least the one I found, there's 2 ice walls. So the first within the first ice wall is the planet Earth. So this is a flat Earth theory. This is a flat Earth based theory. If you haven't caught that yet. But so the first ice wall, it's like a circle around what we know as the planet, and then there's the second ice wall with the other continents, and then there's more openings for that other ice wall, which later in this thread I found what you're talking about, Marcos, where it's like Valhalla, it's like these like volcanic wastes and like all of these places that just straight up, I mean, maybe we're wrong. Maybe they do exist. Maybe we're going to learn a little something tonight. But these
I've already learned
lands,
so much. I don't know if I could learn much more.
Yeah, you don't want to learn anymore.
We're just getting started.
But all of this stuff is based on like what they call. This is an actual thing like among the conspiracy theory. It's hard. There's a type of conspiracy theories that's like, I'm not stupid enough to fall for this, but I do. But I am like I am like doing a cartography of these lands just in case they might be real. But I know that
Yeah.
You're just
Like,
keeping options
it's
open.
just crazy because if you look at like some of the books and literature that do exist, by the way, they're like all of this is like everybody's kind of doing their own ARG, and like they're very talented writers, but they're like making a world for themselves, kind of, and everybody is just like, that sounds better than, like, there's kind of a through line or an underlying thesis for a lot of we've talked about on the show of just like people turn to these things because of distrust in like institutions and reactions to like material conditions declining and all that. So like I genuinely think that this is just like this idea, throwing myself into this is like better than like having to exist in this Chungus world that we live in now.
Yeah.
And like they are very talented fantasy writers that should all be writing.
they're not though.
books.
That dude, this is the problem though. They're not. They're not. Like I get what you're trying to. I understand you're trying to be gracious, but they're hacky. Because
It is very hacky.
because like all of this is based on like what they call. I'm not even kidding you. This is the phrase for it. It's Dantean Universalis. Right. And it's the idea. This is a crazy ass. And this is real deep. There's like 6 guys right now that just got schizo activated in your listenership. Right? They just sprung like how does he know? It's called Dantean Universalis. And it's essentially the Divine Comedy. It's how Dante structured the universe.
Oh.
Right. And so like they think they read the Divine Comedy and didn't see as like, well, this is obviously like they didn't have Twitter back in the day. This was Italian Twitter. That's what Dante's Inferno was.
Dude,
The
it
divine-
absolutely is. If you read the annotation of Dante's Inferno,
Yeah.
it's all him being like, the person who's in the 8th circle of hell is this dude who he lent money and didn't pay him back. It's just like
didn't pay
people
me
he had
back, yeah.
personal grievances with in Italy, in hell.
Yeah, this guy chews too much. This guy chews too loud, so he's in the 7th circle of hell. Like I'm not joking. That's literally
It's
like
absolutely true, dude.
yeah, it's Twitter. Yeah, fuck you. What are you doing over here? No, but no, and like,
Fangool.
and that's why like if you all of the beauty like in the Divine Comedy, like all of the angels, like the levels of heaven and shit are all like like this beautiful woman that passed me by one day, like as I like while I was writing this. Like that's what an angel is in his mind. You know, it's
Some
crazy.
woman
to
he
me.
catcalled is like,
Yeah, literally. Hey, you look really nice. You know, I swear to God, it's crazy. But they saw him write that and were like, no, he got a glimpse into how the real world is structured. Do you get what I'm saying? So like their worldview is based on a lack of material history. Right. And it's a lack of reading comprehension and material history. Like they can't
and they just treat
understand.
it as scripture. Like, so, and that's a kind of just zoom out a little bit to like more, I guess, conventionally normie, like religious beliefs. So many people treat the Divine Comedy as if it was like
Scripture.
and it
Yeah.
very clearly is not.
Mhm.
It's Italian.
It's
scripture,
Italian
maybe.
Twitter. Yeah, it's Italian Twitter is what it was. Twitter before they invented. Literally, they had to. The Italians were so catty. They needed something like that. You know what I'm saying? And then they interred it into like, yeah, this is the greatest. This is our greatest achievement. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I think it just goes to show throughout all of history, humanity's always been kind of like petty, haters.
absolutely. Yeah,
People love being haters.
what is it that like the 6th century BC? Where that guy was like, you know, like Pythios gave me bad bronze. Like, what the fuck? And he like wrote it down in cuneiform. Like, that's an actual, you can look that up. That's a historical document. Some guy was like, this guy sold me fucked up bronze. And like,
Have you ever seen that original piece of graffiti, which is it's from ancient Rome, and it's like a picture of Jesus with a donkey's head, and it's like, and it basically says like, the guy's name is Alex, actually. It's like, Alex fucking believes in Jesus. Look at this is what I think Jesus
Get
looks
his
like.
ass.
It's like amazing.
dude, no, like so much of I legitimately believe like I don't hate this kind of stuff, right? Historically, I think it's mad important. To me, what's more significant historically is not a great piece of art or painting or anything like that, but it's like a guy scrolling like in a bathhouse like Telios is gay, right? Like that.
That's
is
history
way,
right there.
Yeah, that's way more historically
The guy who
important to
died
let us.
jacking off when Vesuvius exploded is the pinnacle of history
Yeah,
to me.
dude, yes.
exactly.
All of that stuff is way more historically important because it lets us know that like as far as we continue moving away from like what we consider primitive, we're really not moving that. We're not advancing as fast or as far as we think we are.
Yeah.
Right. Like cultural improvement versus scientific improvement are two different types of improvement.
There's
And like
still
that's
a guy. If Mount Rainier blew up, I would just start
yeah.
cranking it. It's like we have
If
not
Shasta-
really changed that much.
Yeah, if
You'd be the
Shasta
next
explodes, dude, if Shasta explodes, I'm going spread eagle. I'm like, yo, I'm showing, listen, this is gonna be, we're doing a funny one, we're doing a silly one.
Okay, well, this episode's definitely got to be a
Silly one.
Patreon one.
Yeah. They're gonna catch me, yeah.
People in 1,000 years are gonna know I'm goofy as fuck.
Yeah, we're doing, I was goofing.
Okay. Let's get back. So, June, you find this thread and you find this amazing map.
Right. So I was just like digging through the replies because I was just like, this is so funny to me. I was so fascinated. Like, because I guess for context, I have known about the flat Earth theory. I think most people know about flat earthers.
They know what it is.
Exactly. And I've never seen this aspect of it. I've always just been seeing like, oh, people think the Earth is flat and like you can't, like, you know, they do the dumb shit with like, oh, the horizon proves that it's not like around or whatever, like a planet. So to me, this was like a first look into like I would assume this is like a layer deeper of the like flat Earth conspiracy. This is like just beyond what most people know. So I was really having fun. This was like super cool. And I was digging through the replies.
You were becoming an
there's this one
information
person. Huh?
You were becoming an information pimp.
I was. Maybe I'll earn my doctorate at the end of today. But no, so I was just like digging through the replies, seeing what people were saying about this. And there was this one person called W.R. Schkock,
Yes.
QBD.
Friend of the show.
He says...
Will you read his bio real quick? Because it was so fucking
Sure.
funny.
I didn't actually read it before, so this is the first time for me. So it says, Iontech's quantum biodynamics, developing next-level blockchain, Tesla, PMF, multiple quantum physics patents, inventor vortex chillers, employer, engineer, designer. I don't know what any of that means.
Dude,
No,
this guy is
I
just
know
doing
exactly
all
what
kinds of
that-
stuff.
He's doing, this is cubic time. This is time cube. Literally everyone is doing time cube now, which is so sick. Everyone is a time cubist now.
He had to hit us with blockchain, by the way.
Yeah, block. No, it's a blockchain. It's
The
different, dude.
blockchain.
The blockchain is entirely different structure. You wouldn't get it, dude.
So this guy, let me go back here. So he replies to that original tweet that I read a minute ago. And he says, here are the receipts for the ice wall, how it works, and what's on the other side. So I was like, oh, hell yeah. All right, let's dig in. So he links right there to a reply of his to another post, which is just a Flat Earth account that says, it posts like a TikTok. And the post says, even the countries that hate each other have mysteriously agreed that Antarctica is off limits and must remain untouched. What are they really hiding there? And then this guy replies to that, which is what he linked, saying, the dome, update October 15th, 2024. Already on some good shit right there.
Yeah, he's updating.
So so he starts, this is really long, by the way, so I don't know if we'll get through all of this.
Yeah, just summarize. It's really long.
He is using the like 4,000 character limit on Twitter to the max.
Hell yeah.
So he
love
starts,
that.
yeah, he's super schizo. It's amazing. So he says, countries from around the world that historically cannot agree on anything came together and passed the Antarctic Treaty that says you can't step foot on that landmass. The treaty was formed in 1961 with 56 current countries participating. So I'm just going to stop there. I don't know too much about that treaty. I didn't look into it, but I assume it's not exactly accurate because
it's not true. It's
Right.
It's literally, it's a 1,000%, 100% fabrication.
So it doesn't exist.
It's Antarctica is treated the politics of Antarctica is mad fascinating because essentially what it is that like all of these countries that don't get along and can't get along all realize that like, hey, there's this massive landmass up there that's probably got a ton of resources.
Yeah.
We can't touch any of it, but what we can do is work together to figure out how to extract
how
that
to
shit.
extract the resources to destroy the Earth in a brand new way they've all agreed to do.
So that's what they're doing. That it's not. They're saying that private citizens can't go, and that's true. Like
Right.
you can't mount a private.
Yeah, you can
couldn't
go. Like you can go to Antarctica. It's true that you can, but only on like pre-approved tours and cruises. But like part of that is just because of the bureaucracy of how like Antarctica is governed. And Marcos is completely correct. It is very interesting because it started during the Cold War, and somehow we still managed to make these agreements. And like, you know, various governments kind of oversee specific parts of the continent, and it's just like and plus like if you go there just by yourself, so if you make it there, you'll just die.
If you die of exposure.
So, notoriously pretty cold down there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know about that one.
So it's like kind of true that you can't go there. Like you can, but it is pretty controlled. We'll have to give them a half a point there.
Yeah, half a point. Because like when I read that, I was like, that can't, like, because I know like scientists go there for expeditions. People do
there's all
go
kinds
down
of
there.
like government and even private expeditions that you can go and you can work in Antarctica and all that stuff.
I thought people
but
just
it's
didn't go
all
there because of the
scientific.
thing, you know?
Yeah, no, listen, things are legal now. It's fine. Like we got a treaty with them. They're chilling. We're chilling. You know what I'm saying? We give them an Australian once a year. It's fine. Right?
Yeah. So he says that, and immediately I'm like, all right, seems wrong, but I'm still on board. I'm still ready to learn about the dome. So he says, today, these 56 nations enforce the no expeditions from sea and no fly zone from air, making sure no one breaches this continent surrounded by 140-foot vertical walls that look like they were engineered as a smooth wall barrier rather than a naturally formed glacial edge. You can take a flight over a certain section of Antarctica, but the ticket will cost you 10 times as much as normal, and there will be no passenger windows to make sure you cannot see any of the lands below. I don't know, it seems pretty suspicious, right? That's pretty weird.
Why would you pay, just like from a consumer perspective, why would you pay tens of thousands of dollars to fly in a fart tube with no windows? Do you know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't even make sense as a product. You know what I'm saying? Like that can't be correct. That can't be true.
Yeah, it can't be true. Again, didn't look into it, but I'm just willing to accept it. He's probably right about that one as well. And he links to a Wikipedia page. I'm not going to read through it, but it's just about the Antarctic Treaty System, which we have talked just a minute ago. He probably just totally lied about. So I'm curious why he linked to the Wikipedia.
I don't think he lied. I think he didn't read it. He did what everyone else does, which is he reads. This is how most people, myself included, read Wikipedia articles. They just read the big black texts. You know what I'm saying? The headers.
The headers,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, I'm aware. Now I know everything. I'm fully informed. I don't even know anything else. And that's he saw like, oh, these countries have a problem. Oh, they're in a treaty. Okay, cool. No,
Seems
that
suspicious.
tracks. Yeah.
Seems a little suspicious. So he continues. If your boat or plane were allowed to scout Antarctica, you would eventually learn it is the edge of our contained world under a dome, and that there are 3 or 4 exits being constantly patrolled to keep you inside. And there's a picture of like a gate that like it looks like a constructed glacial gate. Like there's like pillars made out of like ice and glaciers. Yeah. I don't know if it's like photoshopped. It's
the
not
wall
real
from Game of Thrones.
That's what I was going to say. I've never watched that show, but my understanding is that's just Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
See, I would believe it. And then he continues there. What isn't well known is the fact that a ship in any ocean in the world can set their bearings in any direction, literally blindfolded, and will reach the South Pole. How is that possible?
That's very
true.
Is
that possible?
Marcos, how is that possible?
How is that possible?
I don't think it is. I think
power of imagination.
Listen, I think like Christopher Columbus pretty much proved that incorrect. You know what I'm saying? And like the Vikings before him did the same thing. They were just kind of like, hey, we're going to just keep going until we hit it. Oh, cool, America. You know what I'm saying? Like and then people on the West Coast were like, hey, we're going to keep, oh, cool, like Japan. We did it, guys. Yeah. So like you have to be going in a specific direction, which is south.
I think that people just like that you can fly over Antarctica. The reason that it doesn't happen, I say, oh, you can't fly over the South Pole. Well, the South Pole is actually at like the very southeastern portion of the continent. And there's like zero reason ever any commercial flight would go there, just population density and so on. That's it. And so they're saying it's like illegal and it's fake. And if you close your eyes and walk long enough, you'll end up there.
They're doing it to lie to you.
Yeah.
You know about, so the ice shelf, okay, all of this stuff has the ice shelf, all of this is connected to like everything else, like the raw milk guys. Mm-hmm. This is also connected to like Agartha.
What's
like,
Agartha?
you know, oh wow. Welcome.
You're talking to some real baby brains over here. We don't
know. Welcome.
Yeah.
Well, Agartha is wild because Agartha is the opposite of the flat Earth theory. Agartha is like, no, they're like, I'm not stupid. The Earth is round, but also like the crust.
Like that's kind of inner
that's
Earth
not
theory,
the real Earth,
right?
Yeah, that's not the
okay.
real Earth. The real Earth is underneath it's the underground Earth. There's a second
Hollow Earth.
atmosphere,
Yeah.
Hollow Earth, yeah,
Oh.
and it's Agartha, and then it got co-opted by the Nazis in the 30s and 40s. The stories of like Agartha, and like it turned into like that's where the real white people. That's where white people are from. Like
Aryans are in Earth.
it's
And
white.
there's like the whole Admiral Byrd expeditions. Are you super familiar with those, Marcus? Those expeditions did happen. It's just all the lore for this comes from forum posts.
Yeah. Well, like even the Soviets,
the most trustworthy source.
Yeah.
Even the Soviets were like, maybe the Nazis are onto something, like trying to drill into the earth to get into Agartha. We should try to do the same thing. And then they did it, and they're like, dude, it's just hot down there. It's just molten lava.
You know, this is also like a tertiary plot to the Godzilla versus Kong movies. I don't know if that's Nazi related or Nazi.
It's not, but it is. The thing is, like a lot of all of this stuff comes from what I was trying to get at is that all this stuff is related, but like the entry point of all of this is how they get you, right? How they trick you into thinking this, like into taking this stuff without a grain of salt, with like, you know, full hook, line, and sinker believing it. Is they usually find a blank spot in your knowledge or in like the larger gap of people's knowledge, and then slip in some kind of like thing that is kind of true. And they do that because they think the thought process that you're supposed to follow is, if they didn't teach you about this, can you imagine what else they didn't teach you about? And that's literally, once you start considering shit like that, that's when they've got you hook, line, and sinker. You know,
because then you start saying like, then you start getting into like how many people really died in World War II? Is that where you're going with that?
Not even just that. Like it's even like, you know, like maybe like it's okay. Here's a great example of like RFK believes that. Sorry to bring that
friend of the show.
That demon. But he believes that the thing that's causing obesity in America is chemicals. Is like all of is that we're eating highly processed food. And the fact of the matter is that that's just incorrect. What's causing obesity in America is that our food is cheap and widely available and calorie dense. Right. And the process, like the amount of processing you do to that food doesn't change how calorie dense it is. I mean, you can squeeze more calories into there in a smaller package, but like that doesn't make it more or less good for you. Right. Like even if you ate 40 eggs every day, you would still be a fat guy. Do you get what I'm saying? Like if you eat only protein and no salads, or you drink raw milk and you have like dysentery from that, it's not going to change that if they heat your milk up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I'm saying? Like there's no difference in that. It's just that like they understand this is the problem this is where we're getting real like schizo shit, right? all of this stuff really hinges on you not having an understanding materially of your conditions, right? Like because they're giving you only a part of the game. They're like a lot of people can identify that like there's lots of things that we don't know, that like, you know, like for instance, a lot of the flat earth stuff is like, why does NASA have like why is it that there are no public traded companies that go into space? Or why is it that like it's so difficult to go into space from a public perspective? Why is NASA like guarding these secrets? The real story is that like historically it's because there are a lot of Nazi scientists and they don't want to admit that stuff, right? They don't want to be like, hey, we got into space because of Nazis. We don't want to talk about that part of our history. So like what they'll do instead is they'll just kind of close everything off, and it really gives a lot of leeway for people to just speculate. And that's wildly dangerous. It's more dangerous than to just be like, hey, yeah, we goofed. We did a lot of bad shit to get here, right? That's, you know, and
I mean, it seems like to me, most conspiracy theories are spread and perpetrated by people just being like, what? I'm just like asking questions here. We're just asking questions.
The whatabout is it's like viral whataboutism. It's like bad. It's like virulent whataboutism. It's pathological whataboutism. It's like it can kill you. It's terminal whataboutism is what it is. But like, yeah, it's it banks on you not having an understanding of your basic material conditions or your historical context or any of the stuff that like would make it so that way someone who walked up to you and was like, hey dude, you know about Agartha? That's where the real white people are from. And you're like, what are you talking about, man? What are you saying, dude? Come on, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, did you know that like raw milk has like 10 times more protein in it? And like, no, it doesn't. It literally doesn't. It's got more bacteria, which may have a little more protein in it because you're eating bacteria, right? Like,
technically,
right,
everything alive has protein, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
true.
like,
So, sure.
Yeah. Do you know about the cow thing? Do you know about the cow protein thing?
What do you know? What about it?
Okay. Sorry,
Are you talking about like mad
That's a
cow
very
disease?
abstract question.
Cows, people have, it's like shocking to a lot of people, but like you study biology, right? Like you have an understanding, probably better like of a layperson than like people ask the question, how are cows so big and they only eat grass and they have so much muscle to move them around? And a lot of people don't understand the function of their four stomachs. A lot of what like their other stomachs do is they create homes for bacteria, and then the protein that they get is from the bacteria, right? So they supplement their protein intake with bacteria, like helpful bacteria. But there are guys who don't understand that, and what they do instead is they take cow stomach lining and then grind it up and make it powder, and then shoot it. And they call it natural trenbolone. They shoot it into their body. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, this is natty trenbolone. And like, no, dude, you're just shooting tripa into your stomach, like, or into your body. Like, it's just, you're shooting stomach intestine, and you're shooting intestine into your veins.
That's fucking
It's doing
crazy.
nothing for you. Right? It's
No way.
You're not rewriting your DNA. You're not doing anything that you think that you're doing. It's a thing that guys are doing now. And they're like, yeah, it's called it's like natural, it's natty trenbolone. And it's like, no, dude, that's not how that works at all.
No, there's some wild people. I mean, that people just don't understand what they're doing a lot of the time.
But I mean, all of these conspiracy theories all originate from the correct notion that you're being lied to all the fucking time.
That's that's exactly what I'm getting at. Absolutely, dude. It's true.
So like people are like, yeah, I'm doing this blah, blah, blah. And it's fucking insane. But also they're doing it because they're like, well, you know, the government didn't tell me the truth about so-and-so. And they're absolutely right, because the government never fucking tells the truth. And it's like, you just reach a certain level of discernment where you either like can figure out how to divine the truth, or you're just like, well, nothing's true and everything's true. And you just make up, you just fill in the gaps with whatever crazy shit you find on fucking, you do
the homie method.
Weirddude.com on Marcos.org.
The homie method the really like how I've come to understand all of this stuff. It really is just like, it's better to know it and then just kind of like, does it sound true? You know what I'm saying? Like really gut check it here. Like if I inject like stomach protein from a cow into my body, will it make me buffer? No, right? Like that doesn't even track. You know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't even make sense to me biologically, right? But I think a bigger portion of this is just like the fact that like the U.S. Department of Education has been like just completely gutted and destroyed.
Yeah, and that's like
decades.
A continuing project, especially from like the right wing, Republican Party. I mean, conservative parties all around the world, of course. Like this isn't just like an American problem where people are starting to believe wackier and just very untrue things. This is like a very global problem stemming from like probably education, but also just how easy it is for misinformation to be perpetrated at this point online, especially on places like Twitter, where you can just say this garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. The craziest. So here's where we are. This is kind of dark, right? I'm sorry to make this a little dark, but the moment it's over for all of us, the moment they start accusing the left of doing witchcraft, and like doing like when they start being like, yeah, this poster on Twitter is doing actual witchcraft, we're cooked, because that's the like step one of the Jakarta method, right? Is to be these guys are doing witchcraft, and then the second step after that is like, hey, these guys conspired together and killed a general. That's when that happens, or if they, you know what I'm saying, then we're cooked. But we're not there yet. But
great book, by the way, the Jakarta method.
Yeah, dismantling the education system, though, that's where the step before that, because that's what they did. And that they did it in Nicaragua, they did it in they do it everywhere. Like the old state apparatus of the CIA and all that stuff, that's what they would do. They would go to another country and they would completely disrupt it economically and then disrupt it from an educational standpoint. And it'd only take like 5 years for their like systems beyond that to just completely break down. And like America has a little bit of a more tougher system. And I think a lot of the dismantling of like the educational system is because what they want essentially to have only private schools.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then they can justify, they essentially have a kingmaker program now.
Because at that point
right.
they can start teaching like evangelical
well, no, not even
and like they can kind of hone
they don't
education.
Want they don't want true believers. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds crazy, but they don't want an they don't want an evangelical true believer to get the nuclear football, because that would be bad for everybody. Uh-huh. Right? Like it would be bad for business long term, right? Like right, like that's just to get an actual guy who believes this shit for real is scary. So like what they want is like a king program. They want like a Bene Gesserit style program, like where they they hand select, hey, these guys are very promising and they were educated in a specific, and they went through these specific schools. I think that we can place them here, you know. And when I mean by they, when I'm saying they, I'm not talking about like an apparatus in any particular
Jews?
sense. I mean like rich, that's not, I'm not talking about those guys, right? Those guys, like, yeah, that's not where I'm coming from. Where I'm coming from is more like, it's the powers that be. It's the people that have money. It's the people that have always had money. It's the old money of the old families. Like it's like
the skull and bones freaks. It's those people.
Well, no, it's anyone who has business concerns. That's the level that you know what I'm saying? When a guy's like, yeah, he's from a concern. When you say concern instead of telling someone what your business is, that's who I'm talking about. Like, oh, what do you like? I have a shipping concern out of Missoula. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Like that's a level of rich guy that most people don't know.
Right.
Right. And so like man, all of this stuff goes back to like, I'm sorry, I've taken this over and gone completely schizophrenic, but like all of this goes back to like the Nazis, because the Nazis, how they got the like Waffen guys, how they like, here's how the Nazis work, right? They realized that they couldn't really like only have 6'5", like blonde hair, blue-eyed guys in their army, because there wasn't enough of them. They were like, hey, listen, there's not enough of these guys to have a whole army of them. So what they did was they opened it up to the Waffen, which were like guys that were like 5'2" and, you know, maybe, you know, like Slavic, right? And
Marcos,
that's
if
what
you
they
will.
me essentially. Right. But yeah, they just guys that weren't part of the Aryan, what they considered Aryan. They had the Waffen SS, and how they got those guys to comply is they did this especially like in Belarus and like Russia. What they sold them on, instead of like telling what the Nordic vision of like, they were essentially like what they're telling German soldiers in the German SS, what they were telling those guys was that like, yeah, you guys are going to be business owners. We're going to install you in the state. It's going to be kind of like, you guys are always going to have a job no matter what. But what they told the like Waffen guys and like Belarus and all that stuff, they're like, we're returning to feudalism, and you guys are going to be errant knights, and you guys are going to ride around in the countryside and have maidens and shit. And those guys were like, fuck yeah, dude, sign me up. Right. And like, I'm not even joking, but like, then they just really lead into that occultist view of like, because there are some guys who are like, nah, I'm too smart. I don't want to be a knight. That sounds like hard work. And they're like, well, then you could be a wizard. And those guys were like, dude, you know what? Now you're speaking my language. And that's literally how the occultism got into Nazism.
So funny that you mentioned the Nazis. So I'm skipping ahead on this insanely long post just a little bit. This person continues, the Wiki Antarctic Treaty article doesn't mention the lands that were claimed for Germany by Hitler in 1939 that were beyond the ice walls, called Neuschwabenland, now renamed New Swabia. Yeah. Did you know that there are lands beyond the Arctic Wall claimed by 7 countries, but you'll never be allowed to see them? It was during Hitler's many trips to the Antarctic prior to World War II that he made contact with the highly advanced breakaway group known as the Thule Society, also known as the Black Sun Society, that operates either under the ice or beyond the dome walls, where he was given advanced anti-gravity technology that led to the first fighter planes made out of steel. Steel can't float on air currents, folks. That's literally not possible. Then later flying discs, first known as the Nazi Bell, and later as Foo Fighters, that are able to hover, fly, and translocate instantly using scalar mapping and temporal displacement technology. Prior to World War II, Hitler secretly already had this technology in development and ironed out during the war, while America was still using archaic forms of air weaponry. So, he gets into this very Hitler mysticism, Nazi mysticism type shit. And we should link this. Should we link this thread in the show notes so people can delve into this? Yeah, this goes on.
If you read all this, you are becoming an information pimp, and you're gonna have to start putting your hair into a ponytail, and you're gonna have to look like the comic book guy from The Simpsons. But this is part of the process.
Yeah, because there's so much here. I've only read maybe 1/5 of everything in this thread, and I don't think we'll get to all of that in this episode, but it's this kind of shit. It starts with there's lands beyond the ice wall. That's it starts.
We can't. So I know invariably what's going to happen here is we'll have. I'm not complaining, by the way. I love this kind of interaction with our audience, but we talk about something for an hour that other podcasts or any kind of books have been written about this. There are 10-part series on conspiracy podcasts about this kind of stuff. So we'll get some people that are going to you need to talk about the Uranus people who have pink skin and white eyes, which is a real thing, by the way. But
real thing as in part of this theory, not real as in it's
no,
real.
They're real. They're real.
Just understand, guys, this is so dense that we are not going to, but we could talk about this. Marcos, how many hours of content do you think we could do just on the ice wall?
Dude, we did what? We're doing the chiromycin stuff. We're only we're done with 2-3 sessions, and we're not even scratching what we're trying to talk about.
We've done 2 intros so far. We've talked for 3 hours.
It's impossible to talk about this stuff because it's all you would need 2 things to really understand this. One is you need to have an advanced case of schizophrenia, and 2, a pretty good grasp of the last, I want to say 100 years of history of clandestine operation history. Then if you have both of those things, you can truly fully begin to understand what's going on here.
You can truly become an information pimp.
Yeah, truly. But until then, you don't know what the hell is going on. No, it's the Nazi connection with all of this stuff, that all right-wing propaganda eventually starts and ends in mysticism.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? And the reason why that is because I hate this right-wing shit, conservative right-wing mindset is baby brain, right? You literally, your brain, you have the brain of a baby, right? You don't, you are baby brain.
They stopped growing at 8 years old.
No, just because you have an addiction to narrative. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right, absolutely. Things need to happen for a reason. Things can't just happen. And
it has to make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the operators have to have a specific, they have to
be connected to the same people. They all have to know the plan going into it. There needs to be a plan, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, and you know what I'm saying? The thing is that not to say that the left doesn't have this kind of baby brain stuff too, because there is a baby brain amongst the left. And
this is a different kind.
It's what I do, which is saying the CIA did most of it. But I'm backing it up by you know what I'm saying?
Historical documents.
Yeah. I'm backing it up by watching C-SPAN for hours on end. This is a different, but what I'm getting at is that you have to understand that you won't have answers, that things just won't make sense sometimes. Mm-hmm. And that the moment you have a grand unified theory about something, you've goofed, you fucked up.
See, this is why this is why I think that Burn After Reading, that Coen Brothers movie, is my text of like
Yes.
of like what
Yeah,
The
of, like,
best.
what-
If you've never seen that, you should, by the way. But it's like essentially a bunch of imbeciles, Coen Brothers movies. So you know what kind of imbecile you're dealing with is like your protagonist. They
but
write
the most
morons
important
better
part of
than
the
anybody.
movie it's about intelligence operatives just letting
Not
shit
knowing.
fall into the wrong hands.
Yeah.
And the wrong hands happen to be a bunch of fucking morons. And the last
Well, I like-
the last like scene
Yeah.
of the movie is a debrief on it with J.K. Simmons, and J.K. Simmons, they're like, what does this all mean? And he's like, fuck if I know. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah,
That's
what did we
learning.
learn? He asked him, "What did we learn?" And he goes, "Fuck if I know." And then that's how they end it. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's legitimately a lot of that stuff is how like the MK Ultra stuff, right? Like, do you know how we even know about MK Ultra?
Government declassification, I think.
No, it was no, not at all.
I'm
They
going to guess
destroyed
it's way
it.
dumber than that.
Yeah, Alan Dulles like destroyed all of the files, but they misfiled one set of documents and sent it to a different warehouse. And then
So it was
like
just
years later,
receipts. Like we did
Yeah.
crimes receipts that they just found.
yes, yeah, literally.
I love that's my favorite kind of like finding out about information is just like a oops, here's the crimes we did, and now everyone knows.
What happened was like it was like a secretary was just for a discovery case, and she was just like blindly just like Xeroxing everything and shipping it to the lawyer, and it had nothing to do with like discovering MK Ultra. It had something. It was like a libel case or something, and this like poor lawyer is like reading through. He's like, "What the government did what in the 60s? What the fuck? What does this have to do with my case?" You know, it's like literally that's literally how it went down, and it's fascinating to me that like, but yeah, like getting back to it, it's all narrative addiction. You have an addiction to narrative. These things have to make sense to you. And like beyond that, there's like this is like the further level of baby brain is that you don't want to think about it. So you'll find someone that sounds like they know what they're talking about and you'll just trust them blindly.
Right.
Right. And like that's your narrative addiction is so removed. It's so like abstracted that you don't even need it to make sense. It just needs to make sense to the guy who's telling you that it makes sense.
Right.
You know, and like that's if you have a strong worldview, the strength of your worldview should be that like I don't know shit and I probably never will. That's the strongest worldview
that's how
you
I
can
live.
have.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like you get to a certain point. Usually, for me, it was like my early to mid 20s where I'm like, I don't know anything. Who
It's
knows?
so
Who knows?
liberating to like you go through this. I don't know, you guys did maybe or not, but I went through a phase of like discovering the world, and I was like, oh my god, I'm the one. I alone know the secret truth of the world for like 18
Yeah.
months, and then I was like, oh, actually, I'm stupid as fuck, and it's so liberating to not know how things actually work.
No, that's how I was when I was younger. And then like early 20s, mid 20s. Yeah, that's exactly the same path I went on where I was like, I'm never going to know.
Have you
I'm
heard
stupid.
of Karl Marx? Me at like 19, like, oh my, so fucking insufferable. Anyway.
My problem was that like I've always been willfully ignorant about things, like on purpose. Like I remember people would be like, "Have you read the Communist Manifesto?" And I'm like, "No,
Fuck that shit. It's stupid.
no." Oh, you read? Like, nerd?
You need a book? What are you
Yeah,
doing?
you need
That's
a
like
book
how
to tell you.
that's how most people in this world think though. Like
Yeah.
like they're like, "Oh, you want me to read this like 10 line document?" I don't that's kind of a big ask. I don't know.
The thing that really opened up the world to me, like legitimately, that stopped me from being one of these guys. Like, here's the thing, right? I remember getting into debates in my early 20s with people online, especially like in Facebook. People be like, "Oh, you haven't read the Communist Manifesto, blah, blah." I'm like, you want me to read a book that lets me know that the rich get richer and the poor get poor? Like, I know this, dog, right? Like, I don't, why would I need to read a book that tells me that, but I already know? This is crazy. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to
But
say
the
something
thing
kind of
that-
controversial on this pod, and I might get yelled at, but there's also, I just think, not the Communist Manifesto is very different than like Capital.
Yeah, Das
absolutely.
Kapital's different. Yeah, because it tells you exactly how you're getting like more broke.
And there's like scholars that read this book throughout their entire lives again and again. These books again and again and again. They dedicate their lives to reading this book and understanding it and talking to other nerds who read this book for their entire lives, and they interpret it and stuff. I just don't know if I see, like, if you want to read it, do it. I've read it, but like, I don't know how much I see the utility of like just a normal, if you're not like a scholarly man, like if you're kind of dumb, I don't know, like at what point you need to really read
So-
Capital. Do you?
Okay, check this out. I started reading all of these books so that I could dunk on nerds more effectively. Right? What happened was like literally all of this stuff comes from like in 2007, Facebook is like kind of taking off.
Yeah.
And like the Facebook pages start taking
Dude,
off.
this was like the ape. If you were an insufferable fucking nerd about politics, this was the golden age.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
And so
I was big in Facebook politics when I was
So-
16. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was going on there and I was just getting these wall of text memes. And I was like, this isn't funny. What the fuck? And then I would look under and people were like, ha, so true. And I'm like, what the fuck
This
are
is
they
before
talking
we could
about?
reduce all this into like soy jacks.
Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck are they? What is this? Why is it funny? And it was infuriating to me that I didn't get the joke. So I was like, okay, well now I got to read that. And like
you go through a fucking Rocky Ford training montage of reading books to
Dude,
destroy
for real.
nerds online.
Dude, I read, and like the worst part about this is that like I have a different history of reading. Like, so for me, the most revolutionary book you can read right now, like you can just go out, you can get it. It's on Kindle if you want to audiobook it. Soledad Brother, right? It's a book written in prison by a guy who was going to prison and like, or he was in prison, and it's like about the horror of like being like a captive in America, like, and it explains like the racial injustices that you feel being a black man in America, but not even like how just like in general, the cage of like racism is caging all of us. And beyond that, like there's an industrial aspect to it where like there's a paid aspect. People get money to live like this. And like that to me was like that's how I came to like, I guess, have a left-leaning worldview, was reading that book when I was like 12. Because my dad was like a prison guy. Like my dad like both simultaneously loved prison and hate. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But like from him. So by the time that I got to like nerds talking about like the Communist Manifesto or like Das Kapital or like Bread and Circus, or not Bread and Circuses, Bread and Roses, like or the conquest of bread, right?
Yeah, that's
like
what you're thinking of,
yeah. All of these books, I remember like reading them and being like, wait, you guys didn't know this already? Like,
Yeah.
See, I'm a person who like if you try and make me read theory, my fucking eyes glaze over. But if you if it's like Ursula K. Le Guin, I'm so fucking there. So make it an allegory that's in outer space, and I will digest that shit so hard. And then later, if you're like, by the way, that's about communism, I'm like, oh fuck.
Do you know about biocosm? Like biocosmism? Do you know about that? Biocosmic, that's like right up your alley. So the Soviets back in the day, there was like a group of Soviets that decided that like Stalin was a little bit too oppressive for them, so they couldn't be as utopian as they wanted to be. So they decided to write science fiction about like utopias, about like Soviet style utopias, like the world being a better place. Like we've and like one of them is that like they completely abolished death. Like they figured out no one has to die anymore. So like there's a book, like there's a pretty famous book. I can't remember the name of it, but like in the book, they're talking about like the validity of bringing back monsters, like people like Hitler and all that shit. And like, is it worth it? Is it worth like bringing them back to life to give them a second chance at life? Even though, and like there's just really fascinating, like really big. And the thing was, the Soviets, like Stalin especially, was like, oh, these fucking nerds talking about nerd shit. Yeah, I don't right. But it was wildly effective for like in non-communist countries, because like it was science fiction about, it's essentially biocosmism is how Star Trek got, like Gene Roddenberry got inspired to make Star Trek, right? Which is like the space luxury communism. Like it started with the Soviets being like, listen, if we try and talk about like, medical advancements and stuff, there's a chance that it might step on a concern Stalin might have and he might squash us. But if we start talking about like curing death and shit, he's not going to do anything about it. And they were right. They were 1000% right.
I think what this goes to, Caleb, go on, and then I'll.
I was just going to say, like, how much of stuff like Disco Elysium, which is beloved by all leftists of all stripes, basically is like, I mean, there's a substantial amount of just like the Frankfurt School in that game. That's kind of like if you've played it and have read those books, it's like, oh yeah, that's like there's like lines from these characters that are from like lifted from the Frankfurt School. So it's interesting how that works.
I think that is like another thing, a very new example of like, I personally, I'll have take the hot take where I think Capital and the Communist Manifesto can be useful things to read, but it can have its limits based on the audience. And I think that, like you brought up, Marcos, the different Soviet era propaganda, like you need different lanes of propaganda to reach different people. Like Capital is good for a certain type of person, where like different sorts of like left-leaning propaganda. And I'm not saying propaganda in a bad, like as a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think there is good forms of propaganda. Like
we call it lore now. It's lore.
Lore. Yeah. Like it just depends on the audience and who you're trying to reach, and like it's not a one-size-fits-all sort of situation in terms of how different things can reach audiences.
Yeah, I need to be clear about when I was making that criticism of Capital specifically, is like, having read that, one of the biggest takeaways I had is like, so many of the people in my life could benefit from like socialism, but should never read this book. There's nothing that
there's no way.
That's kind of where I was coming from.
Okay, so I have the.
No, I knew you were. I just wanted to be like, yeah, because I think that's the discussion we were having, is like different forms of talking about this is what's important. There's not a one solution.
Yeah. The thing that really solidified my worldview, and the reason why I am the way I am, and the reason why I figured out a way to make schizophrenia work for me, is is Morrowind lore. Right? It literally, Morrowind lore saved my life. The actual lore of the game Morrowind, the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, saved my life.
Okay, we got
right. It's my Bible. It's I've dedicated my life to it, dude.
Oh my God.
Like the long and short of it is that, like, essentially in Morrowind, it revolves around a concept called Kim or Chim, depending on who says it. But like the idea is that like you achieve so much in your life that you eventually like move up and like go beyond, and you meet the Godhead. Like, and the Godhead looks at you and says like, hey, you've done a lot of cool shit, but you're not real. I'm dreaming you. Everything I did it. I actually did all the stuff that you did. And here's all the proof that you need. And to achieve Kim, all you have to do is be like, hey, listen, you're the Godhead. Sure, I might be your dream, but also I'm real. Like, listen, I'm real. It doesn't even matter. I know that I'm not real, but I am real. I'm a real person. I've done enough. I've experienced enough things. I am real. I'm not part of you. You're part of me. So being able to flip it back on like the Godhead, then you like achieve this concept called Kim, and you get sent back to like Earth or like the world, and then once you're there, you can remake it in any image that you want.
What's that quote?
And
am I a man dreaming I'm a butterfly, or am I a butterfly dreaming I'm a man?
Yeah, Lousy or Louse. I think it's Lousy.
I saw it in Chrono Trigger, the video game. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Am I a homie dreaming? Yeah, am I a homie dreaming is a butterfly, or am I the butterfly dreaming he's a homie? Right? Like, but no, I think like the idea behind that, right, is like when you get sent back to Earth, the people who achieve Kim, they have the ability to change the world however they want, and like 9 times out of 10, they don't change anything. And the reason why is because they've accepted, they've completed. Like, no, this was what made me this. So like
right, absolutely. And that's like so real. I mean, not even in like a mystic sense. That's even so real in like a real life experience sense.
Yeah,
where if you change any aspect of your past, you will be a different person.
Exactly. And like to me, it really did help me with like, you know, growing when I was younger. I was like experiencing really bad hallucinations like all the time. And I like, if you talked, anytime you would bring it up to a psychiatrist or psychotherapist, the first thing they would do is like, okay, cool, we're gonna up your Risperdal. And you're like, come on, man. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a vegetable. I want to live life. So like learning to accept that they may or may not be real, but it doesn't matter, really did change how I like my relationship to that kind of stuff, which is what got me interested in like, it made me really good at being skeptical as shit without being skeptical. Do you know what I'm saying? Without being like, no, you might be right. Agartha might be real, but like, we're not there. Right? Like, we're like, you got directions? Yeah, you got directions to Agartha? Because until then, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
So I think we're wrapping down, but I do want to read just one more section from this post.
Yeah, there's also one thing that I think is critical after that we have to talk about. I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely. I wasn't sure if we were going to get to that. I'm so okay. We have to get to that too. So we'll go. Yeah, we'll talk about that too. Thank God.
Okay.
So this is the last segment from this post, and then we'll link it. You can read through it yourself because there's just so much here, and I'm sure there's so much we didn't even touch. Like the expanded map that I found in this reply is just incredible. Oh my, it's so good. I want to live in that world. So this last little segment. Elon's rockets that are, I believe, attempting to show people with their own eyes they live under a dome are like massive RPGs that explode on contact, then explodes again and again as it keeps pushing deeper. Maybe he wants to break through, but nonetheless, that's what you're seeing. Next time you checked that spot, it would be perfectly sealed and smooth again. On my wall, you will find a post with an image that appears like there was a huge crack in the dome, refracting light in a rainbow hue. So he's basically like implementing Elon Musk into this theory. Like, I'm assuming this is a newer development in this theory. Like, Elon Musk knows about this and he's trying to show the world that we live in this dome.
That's not new, by the way. They've been talking ever since he became part of SpaceX. They have been, like, when he put the car in space, they were saying that was like a plot to show that the Earth is actually flat. There's a lot of like shit behind that. Like, yeah, that's a whole other hour. That's an entire other hour.
And then actually, before we get to the other thing we're going to talk about, I'm just going to read some of the outer ice walls. So there's, as far as I'm aware, just the two ice walls
all the way down, frankly.
Endless ice walls. So there's a continent called Greater Lemuria. There's one called the Sky Caverns.
The Lemurian Wars, the Lemurian Time War. I just activated more schizos in the chat. Congratulations.
There's Asgard.
Lemurian Time Wars.
There's one called Asgard, with the walls of Asgard beyond that Valhalla. There's another one called Weldrum, another one called Polybius, another one called the Dracanic Isles, another one called Aurora, Morris, the Garden Isles, Mu. There's countless of other continents beyond the first ice wall. This is beyond the second ice wall.
Like, on some real shit, how does this guy know it?
I don't know, but I believe it.
Decades
this is some cool shit.
I'm not kidding. It's just genuinely, all this is just like ARG forum posts since like 2002 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with like probably some alternative agenda, like shifting people to this like schizophrenic right-wing ideology is like always my thinking.
I mean, that always plays an element, sure.
I found this is a few years ago, and I never did anything with it, but I found like a very small community of guys who believe in something called like spectral time vortexes, or I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it has something to do with ghosts and like famous people. But like, if you dig far enough about it, it's literally an ARG from a 9 Inch Nails album that they like have completely made a mythology and build into now, and they believe it unironically. I'm like, that's cool.
I think that's awesome, dude. That's like the genesis of the
it's
show in some ways, of just like dudes rocking online and finding just, ways to connect with each other.
To continue rocking. It really is cool. Like, these guys are probably, they all have schizophrenia now, but like they're really tight-knit.
What's fun to think about that is like, they're just like out there. And like this guy is probably like a Pepsi delivery driver, and one of them's an accountant. Like, they're just
for
out
sure.
there.
One of these guys, one of them is a mailman.
Yeah.
All I know is that this is some cool shit. I believe it. Now,
well, you know what one of them is, by the way. One of them we found out is actually Crown Prince of Qatar.
Yes.
So Marcus,
you guys are
I don't
familiar.
know if you know this. You know Maverick, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you see?
We talk about him a little bit on the show. If you're a longtime listener, we've talked about Maverick a couple of times.
Yeah, Maverick is one of those people that just believes in like so elite gender inversion is so like in the we did it with Ivy is our transvestigation episode. Where like there's a group of people that believe just like literally every celebrity is, they call them gender inverts, but essentially they're trans. Everyone, even Donald Trump, in which is very funny.
I believe that one actually.
Yeah,
he's got T-boy swag. I'm not gonna lie to you. He's got it.
So Maverick is an interesting character in that, like, he posts all day, every day about, like, Donald Trump is secretly like was born a woman, or is a gender invert, and Taylor Swift. I mean, like, side by side photos, like pictures with like outlines, like John Madden doing the X and O's on like their back line and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just all day, every day. But like some of my, like, there's Becca, who was in our live stream for Palestine, was they and I have been big Maverick heads for a few years now, and like we would notice some trends about Maverick that I always thought were very interesting, and that, like, randomly he would, between breaks of like posting his satanic gender inversion stuff and the mud floods and everything, he would post like a picture of like a Rolls Royce, and it's like, that's okay, you're just lying, like, you're just whatever. Then he would post like a video of like in a private jet or something like that. And I kept trying for like a year. I've been trying to like reverse search all these photos to prove that he was like stealing them from like some other place on the internet. And I never could, ever. Well, he just self-identified. He genuinely is a Qatari royalty. And he's like, he's got his own awesome Wikipedia page. He is like, so he says he's got like all these degrees. He's an engineer and a cardiologist and all that stuff. Well, yeah, that's true. Actually, he's just like, he is flying around on these private jets. He actually does have his own Wikipedia page. He actually has more money than God. And he has, in his Wikipedia page, you can see like a list of the cars that he owns. And I cross-referenced that to like my Schizophrenic Maverick album of like car pictures that he's posted and stuff. And those are his cars. That's him. He genuinely has his own Wikipedia page, and that's how he spends all day, is just posting that Donald Trump was born a woman or
CIA. This is CIA shit. This is what I'm not joking. They're doing COINTELPRO Operation Chaos type level shit where they're like getting people. They're making people online stupider.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Mormons. It used to be that they would send a bunch of, like, it used to be all of these organizations were Catholic, right? And they would do Catholic shit by like, we're doing pedophile groups and like a network, and then we'll kidnap a guy when we're working with the mob. We do that kind of stuff. But then the Mormons took over, and they're like, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bully teenagers. We're gonna make them. We're gonna bully teenagers. We're gonna make them think that everything is wrong. And they look where we are. Look at what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, no,
it's working.
It's coming to fruition. Yeah, it's insane. I'm not even surprised that this dude is like this royalty. Like when I saw that, I like burst out laughing, because it's like, what the, like, you expect these people to just be like people living in the hills in like West Virginia.
No, the Habsburgs were part of the P2 Masonic Lodge. Like, this is not like literally like the guys who were like, hey, did you know that like miscegenation is like a disease and can kill you? People who were putting out that kind of like misinformation and shit in the like fucking early 20th century and all that, those guys were literally Habsburgs. Like, they were related to they had the jaw and everything, and they were hanging out in the Masonic Lodge. Like, I'm not joking. Like, this stuff is it's as tale as old as time. It doesn't even, if you were to tell me he was like, oh yeah, he's a Kurdish administrator of the public transportation, like, yeah, dude, I get 1,000%. Like, yeah, that makes sense to me.
Every time you're on here, it's like, this is I feel like the trajectory of every fucking Marcos conversation. It starts okay, but I'm just going to I am going to map a conversation with Marcos. Okay. It starts with the fucking ice wall. Yeah. It goes to communist literature. You're always citing theory, always midway through. And I'm just like, where the fuck did that come from? And then we end with something completely incomprehensible to me, like the P2 Masonic Lodge. What you're saying now is not English as far as I'm concerned. Marcus, I love you for this. And I'm so glad that we get to have you on the show.
Okay, dude, it's history, dude. I'm not even making that up. Like, the P2 Masonic Lodge is history. It's Italian history.
I believe you. But that doesn't mean that you are not I know. You are the living embodiment of a wall of a corkboard with red string all over it. That's like,
I know.
You're the personification of that.
You're our own Qatar royalty.
Yeah, I'm the worst person to get stuck at a bus stop with. Right?
I believe that too.
yeah. You will be like, what the fuck was that guy talking about? We were on a bus ride. It was like a 5-minute bus ride, but I feel 10 years older. I'm like, yeah, my bad, dog. Right?
Okay. Can we use that as a segue to pitch the new show?
Absolutely.
Okay. Marcos and I, it's a Western Kabuki Patreon exclusive, the Chiral Mindset. We're going to be talking about this kind of thing every episode. It's going to be a little more structured. It's so hard. We're trying very hard to be structured. And you're going to learn some things, I think, because it's a little more predicated in reality than maybe the ice walls, but it's all going to tie in.
I think I'm more or less offering. I've been trying to sum it up because my girlfriend has been like, "Why are you watching old white guys in suits all day?"
Yeah,
and I'm like, "Listen, hey, don't worry about that kind of stuff, right? This doesn't concern you." But the reality of what I'm trying to do is, I think I'm trying to offer a history of America that's a clandestine history of America. I'm trying to offer you a perspective of understanding what's going on, what is all of these conspiracy theories, and then blow them up a little bit further out. I don't know, one of the crazy ones, I don't know if that I recently fell into was the Roswell, New Mexico.
Yes.
Conspiracy theories.
That's good. I know a little bit about that Roswell episode.
Okay, so yeah, we're definitely gonna do a Roswell episode, but this was a crazy one. Some people think that the grays and the pictures of the crash site. Yeah. They think that was a government cover up, not to cover up the fact that there was aliens there, but to cover up the fact that they poisoned the groundwater and gave a ton of immigrant and Native American children hydrocephalitis. And they were like, "Look at these aliens," and they're like, "No, dude, those are children. Those are
deformed."
Oh wow!
Oh my god!
So really dark, horrific shit. But conspiracy theorists took that hook, line, and sinker and then spread it, and then everyone now believes. You know what I'm saying? The history of it is now this there's no way to get a direct history about it. It's all whispers.
It's like a People's History of the United States show, except if you were
schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you liked the sound of that, if you liked this episode, I think that's going to be a lot of in the same vein of what the Chiral Mindset on our Patreon is going to be about, and I'm really looking forward to it too. Yeah. This is I want to become an information pimp. I need to see the chiral vectors.
I'm growing my hair out so I can really get into the information pimp.
Yeah, dude,
lifestyle.
I am you're gonna start going bald, and you're gonna have to put it into a ponytail, and that's just part of the process. Don't worry about it.
I already tent my fingers. You can't see them, but every time I'm talking, just imagine my fingers being of course. Yeah, just doing this the entire time.
You have to get a 3XL cardigan that's just way too big. I'm wearing one right now.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Just tent my fingers. Oh my god!
I think that we'll announce it separately, but we've probably, by the time you're hearing this, if you haven't heard it, we'll have announced it. But first live show, Western Kabuki live at the Lincoln Lodge in Chicago, Illinois, March 15th. If you're a Patreon subscriber, we have a separate pre-sale going on where you can get the tickets for a few bucks cheaper, and you're going to get access before we put them on sale to the dirty normies. So the post will be up by the time this episode comes out with a link to purchase them. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to do this, and there's a lot, hopefully some more stuff in that vein coming out, but we're not going to get it too ahead of ourselves. So for now, March 15th at the Lincoln Lodge in Chicago, Illinois.
Very excited. It's going to be a really fun time. We're looking forward to hopefully having a bunch of you there to listen to us talk about, I don't know, maybe something a little schizophrenic, maybe some, whatever. We'll see. We're going to figure it out. We're pretty early stages, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. Anything else, guys? Marcus, where can the people find you?
I have to spell it out. It's the Ain't AINT shit SHIT show SHOW. I keep getting people being like, dude, is your show called The Ancient Show? It's about like no, I'm sorry. I talk fast. I'm from California. Like it's a whole different thing. But yeah, no, it's The Ain't Shit Show. It's available everywhere. You can go to our Patreon, give us $1, get like I'm trying to get on a better schedule because I'm an actual mailman in real life. People also, that's another thing, people have been DMing me and be like, you're not a real mailman. You don't actually deliver the mail. You just
can't
like,
be a mailman.
I'm like, yeah, dude, okay.
Time Wars.
Yeah, yeah, that's my cover, right? Is that I'm a male guy. Yeah, okay, dude. But anyways, like you can go onto our Patreon and hang out. We have a Discord. Our Discord is on all of our show. You can link to it there. We have a ton of fun in the Discord. We're constantly doing stuff. A lot of community engagement there. You can follow me on Blue Sky now. I'm at 10K something because of you, June, and I think that's wildly irresponsible. Because like I am a cognito hazard for a lot of people, and like my DMs have just been full of like, what are you talking about?
I think it's very important that more people are exposed to their brains to this hazard. No, I think it's very important.
But yeah, so follow me on Blue Sky. I'm aintershow.bluesky.com. I'm still on Twitter, not as much these days. I'm on Instagram. I'm everywhere. Ainter Show for everything. All right.